Story number 1, A Lost City by Saurabh Pant. Darkness seemed to be over very close to the person's eyes, known for his calmness and happy smile. He was often anguished about things he left were not fair, and yet today he lied quiet, knowing that his fair play won't be appreciated in the situation that he was facing. He got tested for COVID 19 in the morning. He was taken into a local taxi into the hospital with his father, hoping that the result would come negative and that his son would continue to enjoy his life in the city. In the afternoon, his father returned to home very tense and with great anxiety informed his son that he had come positive. He won't be able to go outside as 14 days quarantine had been requested. Since then, this person who was always good humored lost control, threw away precious things in a fit of rage, and now he lied down on his covers knowing that he won't be able to participate in the activities of the city. He felt choked as his very survival was under threat. No matter what his mother would say to comfort him, he wore a passion expression on his face, although an effort had been made not to let this news spread in the neighborhood, but the attempt was foiled due to intervention of authorities. A notice was pasted on his in front of door informing people about him being COVID positive. He was outraged by their selfishness. In the evening, many thoughts crossed his mind as he fumed on the bed, cursing his parents for their lack of support and also a strong will to make the entire system pay for their lack of understanding and their manipulative schemes. The person belonged to the nightlife in his city, and the authorities had been responsible for not letting him enjoy his life in it. He saw red and did not realize that panic swelled within him. It had been knowing among his friends and cousins that it was a trademark of a disease like COVID 19, where panic becomes the worst enemy of its victim. This person infected most of the times dies more because of the panic than the disease. For instance, a strong feeling of death came in his mind to which he was able to fight. He had heard in the hospital that despite of the missions showing COVID 19 negative, the doctors for their monetary gains had declared patients to be COVID 19 positive. More than anything else, the thing that made him go angry on the entire system around him was their lack of acceptance of their corrupt nature. This created a sense of hatred in his heart of the treating agency. He promised himself to take revenge to make those pay who had forced him to stay like a prisoner inside his own home. He made up his mind to commit their crime for which nobody would be able to stop him from doing anything. When gains began to take root inside him, he was ready to strike those who were responsible for his problem. A bang was heard within his house. The family tried to look that might have caused the disturbance at night. He managed to leave the house quietly while the commotion was going on. So his family members focused on the who had done the damage and did not notice his absence. 30 miles away, suddenly some cracking sound made few night strolling workers stir from their sleep. Before they could recognize what happened, they all were covered in a blooming fire that came into nowhere. The chemical store was closed by caused the blast, due to which most of them died. At another place, a strange looking masked person assaulted a lady doctor in her own cabin, pulled out a sharp dagger from his pocket and stabbed her throat before she could speak a word, and she dropped dead. At one more place, a few voices were arguing when suddenly a gas explosion occurred. Half of them were not able to speak anymore as they were tossed to death, waiting mouth blasted in fury and rage of revenge. It was all happening on the command of a person who was a victim of conspiracy in which he was branded a COVID 19 positive patient. As the dawn appeared, he had silently slipped back in his room and his parents were still sleeping. In the morning, his father switched on the television and made himself a hot steaming cup of tea when suddenly his eyes fell into the news channel and he was shocked at the mess that had happened. Before he could digest it, news began to unfold more rapidly and the more crime news made him confused. All this has occurred in a single night, and deep down he know that it was his son's doing. He had done such damage in the past when he was inflicted with the political pranks. He didn't argue much on subject, knowing that there was surely more to come, as these coming 14 days won't let his son rest quietly, and his hands would itch to take more revenge. He folded his hands, only hoping that the damage won't be greater than that being done already. It was not going to stop now, since a false blame had been imprinted on him. Punishment in any form was found to come. More crimes started to fold, with murders of few political experts, few cars blasted in accident, three famous shopkeepers murdered, and who know what more would come in form of group misery. It could be said that the boy who lived in this city the most wrecked it when he couldn't go out and enjoy his life in it.